to make a comparative visual display in Fathom, and the question I want to investigate is how do the sitting pulse rates of varsity athletes and non-varsity athletes compare. So I need to create some appropriate visual display on the same scale. So the way I'm going to start is by highlighting my collection and double clicking, and when I double click I'm going to see the inspector pop up. And I need a visual display, so that's going to be found in graphs. So I'm going to drag a graph down, and I'm going to find sitting pulse rate. And I'm going to drag that attribute down to the horizontal axis or the vertical axis, but I think I'll pick the horizontal axis. And I get a dot plot. Now you're going to notice that some of the dots are red and some of the dots are gray. That's because some of the data was already selected before. If I click away into a white space of a graph, all the dots are unselected. If I were to, for example, press the mouse button and select a few, then you'll see many of them turn red. You're going to find for this particular study that this is not very helpful to have some of the dots selected. So always remember, if you start seeing that, it's going to be helpful to just take your mouse and click away. Okay? So here is a dot plot of all the pulse rates of every student who responded to that question in the survey. Whoops. And this is great, but it doesn't compare varsity athletes and non-varsity athletes. So my comparison groups are going to be found in the attribute varsity athlete. And I'm going to put that particular variable on the other axis. So if I put the original variable on the horizontal axis, I'm going to put this one on the vertical axis. That is the display that I want to get. If I want to then change this to a box plot, I come up here and make it a box plot or a histogram or a percentile plot. My preference is for a histogram today, and this looks pretty good. And if you notice, as I look at each bar, you'll see information about the number of observations within each bin. I think what I'd like to do is double click on this, and I think I'd like to start the bins not at 35 but at 30, and I'm going to make a bin width of 5. When I do that, I see a little more extra space, so maybe I'll bring this up and down by changing the vertical scale. And now I have a comparative histogram. I can move the mouse so that it's a little easier to read. And there you go.